Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. And for more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them start and build successful accounting firms, offering quality accounting services and getting paid what they're worth. It's here on the show that we actually invite guests, experts in their own right, to actually share with us their specific expertise as it's related to owning, operating, and servicing our clients. Now, with regards to our business, one of the things that we want to realize is we do have a number of things that we want to focus on: marketing, selling, pricing, client onboarding, training our staff, mental health, a variety of things that are all essential to actually have a thriving and successful accounting firm. And today's going to be a great conversation because I've invited on the show Leeroy Beeby. Leeroy happens to be originally from South Africa. He is the co-founder of Level, an error detection software for QuickBooks Online. Before relocating to Canada, he actually earned his chartered accountant qualifications at KPMG and worked as a consultant in Bermuda, where he assisted companies in designing and implementing accounting software solutions. After completing his MBA at the University of Toronto, he started and scaled a construction-specific accounting firm to 7 figures in under 18 months. Leeroy is passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and rock climbing. So, Leeroy, welcome to the show.
Awesome to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, we've got a wonderful story here to tell because obviously you've got a great background in accounting. And I'm wanting to start just with, first of all, what brought you to accounting? Why become an accountant?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, my parents were very entrepreneurial. I mean, that's also why I started a couple of companies. And yeah, growing up, I just remember they struggled with financials quite a lot. It was always, I think, a lot of small business owners or entrepreneurs really struggle with that side of business. So it's inspired me to lead a career in business and accounting. So.
Well, one of the things that's very striking from your bio is the fact that not only did accounting afford you the great career that you have, but you got to travel. You've left South Africa. You ended up in Bermuda. You're currently in Canada. Tell us about those wonderful experiences as it related to traveling and doing accounting in different countries.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of that, I mean, when I qualified out of KPMG, I was in audit. So it was really important for me to, once I finished audit, I learned a lot, but I wanted to feel like I wanted to get out of practice, out of public practice, and get some industry in industry. Yeah, I looked at all the options, and also I always had I think from a young age, I always wanted to see what the rest of the world was like. And an offer in Bermuda crossed my table, and I thought it was really interesting because it was also a consulting gig. So it wasn't an audit; it was more, again, helping companies implement financial controls, finding software solutions for them to solve problems, and yeah, just dived headfirst into that.
I love it. I love it. So then you ended up in Canada, got your MBA. What caused you to now actually tap into that entrepreneurial spirit that you mentioned earlier and start the company Level Copilot?
Yeah. So the MBA program actually it was quite interesting. You could earn credits by working at a startup. So they had a whole bunch of startups you could work for. And Toronto had a very growing technology scene. So I was quite, I think I got brainwashed a little bit into it, but it helped that my parents were entrepreneurs too. And also once I finished my MBA, I was faced with a decision, to go back and help my parents with their businesses back in South Africa, or I could go back into a corporate job. But I felt like, I had done that already at KPMG. I wanted something different. And, I was like, okay, well, I just turned 30. Now's the time. If I'm going to start a business and take a risk, now is the time to do it. And at the time, Toronto had a lot of support around starting businesses. So I just went down that path, met my co-founder, and now we're here.
I love it. I love it. So give me the difference between the Level Copilot program and the company that you had there and this 7-figure business that you actually started offering accounting services that you actually grew in 18 months.
So after my MBA, I wanted to, it was important that I started a business, but a business in technology. And I actually met a co-founder at a networking event. His name's Riley. We still work together today. And we both had a background, or our parents had a background in construction. And I know during my research and trying to find a business to start, in reminiscing about the struggles my parents had when I was growing up, I felt construction companies in particular had a bad rating in terms of how often they failed. Like I think it was like 90% of construction companies fail within 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And it really came down, to what I believed at that point was, they didn't know what the profit on their jobs were and how much working capital they were injecting into jobs. So like how much were you financing the job? And eventually we sort of built a job costing tool with my co-founder who's technical, just a basic tool to like capture expenses on a per job basis, but also reports on working capital on a job basis. So contractors could actually know, like, hey, at this point in time, I've put 30K of my own money into this business. This is why into this project. Sorry, this is why I can't, make payroll, or this is a risk that I need to diversify in my portfolio. Had real good success with that. I mean, it was straight out of COVID too, so a lot of construction companies were doing really well then. We had more work than we could handle at that point, and essentially that's where the idea for this new product came. Was we were just growing so rapidly, and I just was finding, when you scale at that speed, the cracks start to show themselves. And as much as it was exciting from a growth perspective, it was definitely one of the most stressful times in my life. So,
well, one of the things that you really tapped into there, and you didn't really mention it, but it's clearly obvious, is the fact that when you were going into the accounting services, you chose to niche down your services and you offered to that industry, the construction companies, a very specific thing that addressed a need they had as it related to cash flow. And so what you were doing there is not just niching into an industry, but particularly offering a specific service that they would see valuable so as to help you actually grow your business. Do you feel that that was one of the instrumental things that caused you to grow as fast as you did?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we also had a good partner at the time that was sending us a lot of leads. I mean, that marketing and sales is a big important to get your name out there. But yeah, I mean, we had a unique offering, and plus we had the software on top of that, so it really did differentiate us from the market. And I think most customers, if you can nail that, like you pretty much got half your marketing strategy right there.
I appreciate you bringing up the partnering as well, because clearly that can be a very influential part of someone's success when they find that key referral source. I'm curious, what did you do to not only find that source, but what did you do to nurture it? Did you have like an affiliate relationship with them where there was some financial gain on their part, or was there something else that was going on that caused that to be such a healthy relationship?
Yeah, I mean, it was an affiliate relationship, so there was a commission based on it.
Mm-hmm.
But what was interesting is that, like, someone reached out to me on Instagram, and that's how the relationship started. Basically, they were interested in what we were doing, and then introduced me to the owners of that company at the time. And I had to present our offering, and again, it came into the fact that we were offering this unique solution, and they also specialized in construction companies. It was a very symbiotic relationship, so that definitely helped us land the deal.
I love that, because obviously that symbiotic relationship that you're mentioning means that you could collaboratively benefit your clients. And so as you service them, you could refer the other and vice versa. And so that's very, very helpful. So I'm curious, you have that successful run. What caused you to say, okay, I'm up and running, doing great with the construction companies, offering quality accounting services. Why all of a sudden start this other business that wasn't accounting related, but it was more a software business? You went from service to software, and that's a pretty good transition. What caused you to want to make that transition, and what did you find was different in the software industry than the service industry?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think just to kind of elaborate on that. I mean, where it was started was really, it always starts with a problem. And I mean, I experienced this problem internally, which was, one of the things I took really personally was, like, if a client came to me and identified a bookkeeping mistake that my team had made before we could pick it up, right? And that kind of, with the scale that we were growing at, sort of those cracks and challenges around quality assurance and making sure that my team was trained on time, because I had to hire quickly too, right? We had to hire up to 20 staff employees at that point in 18 months. And one of the biggest challenges I had was around quality assurance, and the fact that it was complete, and I was completely remote as well. So that was also the other aspect to this. So quite often quality assurance was manual. It was done at month end. It relied quite heavily on me to do it at times. And I just found that a lot of times, mistakes are being fixed at that month end point in time, when really, if we could deal with 80% of these mistakes as they were happening, or within a week of them happening, we could really reduce the bottleneck at month end, as well as reduce the onboarding time of any new employee, as well as assess their performance quite quickly. Because we just wanted you to be 80% right. You didn't need to be perfect, especially off the bat, but there were some general things like, hey, make sure every transaction has a vendor assigned to it. That was important to ensuring our service quality levels.
Very good. Okay, so you clearly saw a need you were
Yeah.
experiencing, and it was on the QuickBooks Online platform that you were seeing this. So you're trying to get ahead of the curve and actually address some of these errors as they were occurring, so you didn't have to deal with so many at month end. So I'm curious. You see that you have a need. I presume at that point you're realizing, well, if I'm experiencing this and I don't find a solution, I'm going to create the solution. That's an entrepreneurial mindset, so I like that. But why all of a sudden say, okay, I'm going to take what I'm doing here that's thriving so well and actually start this other business? Was it that you saw that the grass was greener on the other side, that there was a larger ROI? What was that motivation to say, I'm going to leave this and go to the other?
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, I think part of it was I wanted to experience what building a product company was. You know,
Mm,
I really wanted to move away from services to see what getting my hands into building like a strictly product-based company was. Outside of like this was a problem that I'm really passionate about solving.
yeah.
And also just seeing, you know, from Bermuda, my experiences with Bermuda implementing a lot of these systems. I felt, hey, I had the know-how from like just designing financial controls, and I spent a lot of my time dealing with that to optimize for some of these issues and saw a gap in the market at the time for doing so. I mean, obviously the ROI side is also there, but for me, it's more just, hey, you know, I always like to say, if I picture my life when I'm 60 and I look back at it and I'm about to make a big decision in my life, will I ever regret that decision? So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I imagine like I was at my point in time where I was like, okay, I could continue down the service line or I could start this product company. But if I was 60 from now, like how would I have felt about this? Would I have been disappointed in this decision, or you know, would I have been okay with it? And I just felt like my 60-year-old self would have said like go for the software company, and would have regretted it if I didn't say.
I love that answer. Live with no regret. I appreciate that. That's something that we all should consider at times. That's very good. The turnkey marketing and sales process to getting accounting clients with confidence. The Universal CRM is, in fact, a tool designed for accounting professionals to help them automate the process to the point of not only finding potentially new clients, but having meetings and getting new engagements to retain them as clients. This process is made up of using specific tools such as CRMs, email marketing, text messaging, sales pipelines, forms, and funnels, as well as reputation management and social proof, getting the testimonials that you need online to substantiate your skills and services. All of these tools and technologies are leveraged to your benefit using the Universal CRM. Go to the episode description and there get the information you need to take advantage of this today. So before we get into the errors and so forth that you were finding, because I'm quite curious what the common errors are, I have to ask, as you left the accounting business and started the software business, did you sell your equities? What was the transition like for you? Did you actually get bought out? How did you leave the one and go into the other?
I mean, it's still running. I mean, it's running. I've left a team running it. I mean, I've just transitioned, so it is still in the background.
So you still have
Yeah,
equity and you're still running it.
yeah. Well, just
Oh,
on a like a basically a advisory perspective, right?
I
So
love it. Okay, so you're still involved there, but you've gone over to the software side. So tell me about these errors that you were finding. What are the common errors that bookkeepers are making, or at least finding as they're doing this, that you felt you could actually address with the Level Copilot?
So I think one of the main areas from a manager's perspective, because it's both from a data entry standpoint and a management perspective, was most management doesn't have time for QA, or it's just part of the job that they don't like doing. And at least internally, it can be quite challenging, especially if you've got offshore staff and things like that. For managers to actually make the time to fix these errors. And quite often, sometimes managers will just be like, I'll do it myself. So now you've got someone that you're paying, you know, quite a lot of money doing they're doing data entry work, which is what I wanted to avoid, right? Like that costs the business quite a lot. So from that side, there's the management side with the problems around managing that expectation around data entry. But I mean, some of the most common mistakes that we saw were just, I mean, everyone experiences them to some degree, like vendors or customer information not being input. You know, if you're doing project or job costing based information, like, okay, well, if you're assigning something to a customer, it should be part of cost of sales, so you get a more accurate gross profit number. You know, inconsistent vendor expense account treatment, inconsistent sales tax treatment. So, hey, if you've got a customer X, they should always have that same sales tax treatment on them. If they don't, like, why is that happening? That's particularly helpful for offshore. And then other things, just like, QuickBooks has its challenges around the bank feed. And I always felt bank reconciliations were always sort of like a manual process to review. So having something just to tell you, hey, here are your uncleared and unreconciled transactions older than 15 or 60 days, you could quickly identify a problem in the bank rate. No, and we're also working on some stuff to help with tracking transaction volume so that you can better price your client.
It's interesting the things that you're noticing you can assist with and help with just simply because of the experiences you've already had. So I'm kind of going to go back to your firm just because I think this is related to a comment you made a moment ago. And it's the fact that you've taken on more of an advisory role in your firm as you've started this software business. One of the things I was curious about is what were some of the things that you felt were in place that allowed you to scale as quickly as you did, but more importantly, even step away from the day-to-day operations? What was it that you felt you did well so that you could actually run a successful accounting firm, but also step away from the day-to-day?
Yeah. I mean, hiring a team that you can rely on is really important. There's that side of it. But outside of that, also just relying on technology. Pricing is an important thing, right? And finding the right clients. I mean, every time someone speaks to me about bookkeeping, I think most of your headache can be dealt with just finding the right clients. The challenge is obviously attracting them, because if they're a good client to someone, you sort of got to have a value proposition stronger than them to attract them to your firm. But for us, it was just we really nailed down on clients. I was very strict on scope of work. This is what we did, and we didn't move out of that, and that helped a lot.
Very good. Well, now I want to get into the Copilot. I want to talk about AI. AI is a very big part of what's going on here. I'm assuming that you're utilizing AI a little bit as it's helping you now find these errors that need to be addressed or pointing out things that need attention. So I'm curious, how has AI actually changed the role for bookkeepers? And more importantly, how do you see it actually affecting the industry as a whole?
Yeah, those are good questions. So, I mean, one of the challenges I always see with AI is like it's non-deterministic, and also, when AI comes to cost categorization, every business is unique, right? As they all have different systems in play. Mm-hmm. So seeing AI actually doing all the bookkeeping and categorizing things accurately, for me, I still feel like we're a long ways away from that. I feel like AI is going to empower users. Sure, it could do some categorization, but it still needs to be audited at the end of the day. And I feel like auditing is still a weak point of most humans. They don't really enjoy audit work. So, when I envision how our product works in the future, is definitely going to be on like helping audit that AI, making sure that things are being categorized correctly. Taking people's jobs, that could be. I still think we're quite a while away from that from a bookkeeping standpoint, but a categorization standpoint at least. But it definitely empowers. And I mean, if businesses aren't using it today, at least to help research or do some work around, communication, you're going to be left behind. So I really think it's important that you embrace and understand what's going on. I mean, Hector Garcia, I follow him. He's doing a whole bunch of stuff with the AI operators.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm quite curious to see what those operators are going to look like, 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah. Now, a lot of bookkeepers, they're very hands-on. They like the manual processes. Oftentimes we enjoy that effort, that work. It's something that we're familiar with, and we feel like we're actually doing something productive. But the question I want to ask is, what does something like Level Copilot, what does it do to actually help the bookkeeper so that they can avoid costly mistakes or errors that they may be doing as they're processing things manually?
Yeah. So, I mean, at our company, the goal is always to alert you of high-risk clients or high-risk data issues without manual intervention, right? So things like, hey, this client's transaction volume has doubled month on month. You might want to see whether you should increase the subscription you're charging them. Is something that we definitely are interested in, right? Because that's money left on the table. When you speak to most bookkeepers and you ask them, okay, you use a fixed price model. How often are you reviewing that? And they'll tell you, yeah, sure, I'm using transaction volume. But I might look at it annually. But it's like, okay, well, what happens if a client grows drastically? How are you getting information around capacity management with your team? Oh, no, it's just word of mouth. Like I asked them if everything's okay. Like, okay, well, there's data that you could use. And if you're worried about, talking to the client about changing your price, it's quite easy to show them, hey, here's the transaction volume from month to month. Your business has grown from a bookkeeping standpoint. It's easy to justify your price changes then. So that's one way that we look at helping clients just identify risks without manual intervention. Because, as you said, a lot of the job can be manual, but it doesn't have to be, right? Especially if it can result in dollars and cents at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, this causes me to actually now ask the next question, which is many accounting professionals really lean into software and various plugins and technology as it is to actually help streamline the efficiencies of their work. But there are those few that are actually reluctant to do so, whether it's kind of like you did at the very beginning when you were actually targeting the construction industry. You came with a software application that was actually going to help them with cash flow and so forth, but you then created this software company. So you're obviously one of those who embraces technology and leverages it to your benefit. But what do you say to those who are a little bit more reluctant to actually integrate with the platform? If nothing else, just because they're worried that, yeah, this is nice and shiny and fun, but it takes a lot of time to actually set up. It takes a lot of time to integrate. More importantly, it's questionable whether or not it's going to be around in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of companies where that's happened already, right? I think, the starting point is just understanding, we are bookkeepers, we have to use bookkeeping software, deciding on what sort of technological advancements you're going to make from what are you going to use for a general ledger in helping you service your clients is a very important first step. I always, I've learned a lot in trying to implement new software tools. I always like to start small, break the problem up into small bits. No software today is going to solve all your problems. I think, a lot of people think, oh, cool, if I can just find that one thing that's going to solve everything. And then you go to okay, well, there's that one thing that you want to implement. Someone's got to maintain that. You got to train the staff on that. Those are things that you need to think about. And if you can start small and things can solve one problem really well, or someone can solve like 80% of your problems really well, as opposed to all of them, that's definitely important to keep in the back of your mind when deciding on a piece of software. As for the, whether they'll still be around like that, you've just got to, assess the market and see where they're going. Ask them in a sales call, like, can you refer us to clients or anything like that?
Yeah, what they have in the industry is what's called early adopters, those who are really excited about the shiny objects, those that are excited to actually try something new and implement something. But it is for those who are hesitant and reluctant, more important to actually sit back and watch and see, okay, let's see what the landscape offers here in a year or two after they've been around, established, worked out some of the kinks. And at the end, see if this is something that's going to really stick around. And then they start adopting those things after some time. So I liked how you were describing it. What I would add myself is when I've had this conversation, not only with other accounting firms, but with clients, is there's a great way to assess what you should be actually considering as you're adopting new things into your firm as it relates to software applications. And the first thing is to basically view, is this something internal that's actually effective for us as we're working on our clients' books? Or is this something that's client facing, which is going to involve them, that we're going to have to actually give them login access to and train them to use and expect them to actually use it? Because if it's something that is outside of our control, which is to say our clients, that's going to be a big lift. But if it's entirely something that we're doing in-house, that's working on efficiencies within the firm, that's something that we can manage, control, we can actually require. So that's something we have control over. The second thing is with regards to the work or the application, is it helping us or is it helping our client? There are frustrations that our clients oftentimes experience as they're trying to give us documents or get us information. Is this something that's going to streamline and make their lives easier? Or is it just simply for us and it's just something internal that we're going to benefit from? So I think those two questions are oftentimes very helpful to really assess what should I be considering implementing. And then the third thing that I would definitely say is as you're considering any platform, you definitely need to see, is this something that's going to help with what we're already doing and actually simplify something that we're already trying to accomplish? Or is it bringing in some new thing that we don't have experience in, we don't currently offer, it's something new that we don't currently do? And realizing that, it helps you understand, is this something new that we're having to actually now embrace? Or is this something that we're actually going to take and streamline within the firm? I think that's a great third question. But the fourth thing that I'd actually have is advice. And it's essentially whenever you take and adopt these new things, go all in. Do all of the training, work with your account rep that's typically assigned to you, take the time to actually learn the platform and figure out all the nuances of it and actually apply all the things. I think too often we adopt these things with the best of intentions and then months into it realize we're only using a fraction of its capabilities. We're just barely touching the surface of what it's capable of doing. Would you add anything more to those four things that I just shared?
Yeah, I mean, I just curious about just something that comes to mind. I feel like a lot of users are so. One of the challenges I find with software sometimes is, to your point, you might only use a third of the features,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like you're losing out, or the product's not worth it at the end of the day because
Yeah.
you're only using a third of the features. But it's still solving a meaningful problem.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like you shouldn't look down at that software because of it, right? Like, I think that's one of the challenges of software is you might feel like you're not utilizing all of it, but if it's solving a meaningful problem and it's saving you time at the end of the day, that's incredibly important.
Yeah. Well, there's two things that I think are helpful. One is the efficiency. Is there something that's going on here that's really saving us time and energy? That's one way of assessing the ROI. The one other thing that I really find that's helpful is there is a cross training. There is a no longer a dependency on an individual because we've now taken whatever's going on and put that process and procedure within the software itself. So we're not dependent upon somebody's mind. And if they got hit by a bus or went on vacation or something, all of a sudden they're no longer available. Well, if we've got the process within an interface that we now can follow, it's more teachable and trainable that we can now expect somebody else to then follow that same routine. If it's a process that they're doing autonomously at their desk and we're not familiar with what it is, it's hard to duplicate it and it's hard to delegate it. So that's one of the things that I think some of these integrations afford us is there's these internal processes that they bring into the system that we're able to just follow simply because they've kind of put the best practices into place. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to step away from my bookkeeping firm without the standardization that technology brought, right? So
Perfect. So that then begs me to ask, in your firm, what is that technology stack that's afforded you the ability to actually have this flexibility? So what is it that you felt is essential in your firm to actually have what you're currently doing?
yeah, I mean, I think we use Ignition,
Ignition, okay.
practice Ignition. That just took away all the headache around AR, right? So that was important. And we also do a fixed fee model. So again, it's a fixed price with changes that we review subscriptions every 3 months, as opposed to every year, just because these companies can grow quite drastically, and that has implications on capacity. So yeah, I would say that number one was just the way we managed AR and our subscription pricing was really important, and then standardizing our surface offering. That's incredibly important. And then all the other things to manage emails, we use HubSpot to keep track of all our email communication, and G Drive for everything else, pretty much.
Perfect. I appreciate you sharing that. It's not necessarily a commercial, but by all means, we're interested in the tech stack that you're using. So I find that valuable. Get your free copy of the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. This is a how-to guide for accounting professionals to work with their clients and actually implement proven processes and systems to ensure that their clients make profit a priority. It is in this book you'll actually learn how to map the business and, in fact, make marketing, accounting, and production a priority within your client's business. You also learn the wisdom pyramid, how to actually take the information you're providing to your clients and effectively use it so that they can make more informed business decisions. This book is designed to help you communicate more effectively with your clients and, in fact, have them see you as their profit and growth expert. Get your free copy now of the ebook today, In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. So the next question is clearly, as the founder of the Level Copilot, I'm having to ask: is there something that you can share that's some on the edge feature or benefit that's coming out soon that you could announce?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's around transaction volume. I think we look at a lot of stuff in the market, and I think when I'm on a sales call, I always ask like, how are you reviewing pricing? What is your pricing structure? How do you know work's being completed on the file? A lot of our clients, or at least a lot of things in our sales calls, are around, hey, I want to be warned of a problem without having to look at a massive spreadsheet. Tell me who are the top 10 clients at highest risk where I need to spend my time. solving those. So that's really important to us. So things like tracking transaction volume on a month-to-month basis is also telling you, hey, like this client has seen a drastic decrease in transaction volume. You might want to double check that. Is one of the big features we're pushing out now. So that it also comes back down to dollars and cents, right? So if a client has doubled in size month to month, well, you shouldn't wait until the end of the year to increase your price based on that, right?
I like that. That's very good. Yeah, I'm all about getting paid what we're worth. So that's important. So I'm going to ask some now personal questions I'm very curious to ask. You started early in the discussion mentioning that you had this entrepreneurial upbringing and you had the inclinations to go out and be entrepreneurial. If you were to look back a few years ago as you were considering starting your accounting business, what were some of the things that you didn't expect? And what is some advice that you would give to your younger self?
Yeah, I mean, my parents always even asked me that. I mean, my parents, it was funny. My parents, as I mentioned, they started businesses, and this was the first thing they asked me. I didn't really understand the gravitation of the question at the time, especially based in the service industry, which was like, how are you going to find staff? How are you going to find the right staff to deliver the service that you're looking for? I've made a lot of hiring mistakes, and I think all my hiring mistakes stemmed from hiring too quickly. I think, if I could go back to my old self, I'd say, like, even if you have to push out clients an extra month from a starting date or something like that, make sure you hire slow and, fire fast if you have to. But hiring slow and especially testing those competencies, especially around like, hey, give the person a test, right? I think one of my favorite stories that I had from a hiring perspective was, I'm not sure this will work for everyone, was I came up with a test and there was a blatant mistake in the test. But I didn't know that. I made a mistake in figuring out what the answer was. And the hire at the time came back to me and said, hey, emailed me and said, hey, it looks like there's a problem in this. Are you sure this is set up? And okay, well, I identified the mistake, and it was good to see that. And I actually started, what I ended up doing was having an intentional mistake in the paper to see if someone would email me back and ask me if this problem is existent, or just straight up try and answer the question, right? You can quickly tell whether someone is like a problem solver or is willing to, because I think, I don't know if it's human nature, but we avoid conflict, right? Mm-hmm. So if someone can actually ask a question that, might be conflict driven in some ways, because you're questioning the tester whether this is right, that for me was like a really good skill set to identify whether this person would be good in leadership. Because I mean, I wanted people to question me, right? Like I didn't want to, at our company, it was always like, you need to question me if I'm wrong. Everything's an assumption. And I looked for that in leadership. So I think, hiring slow is really important. Testing for the skills that you're hiring for is incredibly important too.
So regarding your business, do you have certain KPIs or metrics that you follow as you're running your company?
Yeah, we have check-ins, we have a feedback form. In terms of, internally, like, sure, there's the revenue and how many clients you're managing, which is important. But I think we also measure just, stress levels. Are you getting to take vacation? Are you happy at work? Those are some of the things. Like, I really want staff members to be honest with me, and I'm honest with them too. That's incredibly important, because I feel like if you are going to grow and build a company that you want to build, that at least for me is very important at its core.
Yeah, I actually think that's very important. All right, so how has your life benefited from this entrepreneurial journey that you've been on? How do you feel personally you've benefited from this experience?
Yeah, I've definitely figured out what I like and I don't like. I'm much more content with myself in the sense of like having gone through these experiences. I no longer question myself as much as I did prior to it. I think a lot of the times I wasn't sure what I was doing. I felt insecure in a lot of ways, but now I definitely know, like, I can do a lot. Like, I know what I'm capable of, and I'm confident in that, which is not what I would have said if I hadn't started the company, right?
Yeah.
Because I did suffer from confidence issues growing up, and but I put my head down and managed to build a successful company, which looking back on, I'm really proud of, and prove to myself that I am capable of.
This is awesome. Well, Leroy, this has been a wonderful conversation. The insights that you've provided and some of the helpful tips that you've shared have been wonderful. I'm going to actually go through and recap a few of the things that stood out to me. But before I continue, for our listeners, I want to actually point out that Leroy is offering a free trial to the Level Copilot. And it's one of the things that you want to take advantage of. So you can go to the episode description and actually see here how you can learn more information about this error detection software. Bookkeeping Copilot is dedicated to actually simplifying your bookkeeping process, to providing automated assistance and insightful guidance on a daily basis. Their goal is to actually empower you for your bookkeeping, enhancing your accuracy and ensuring compliance, all while reducing time spent on the repetitive tasks. So definitely check out his offer for you to get a free trial of this software. In addition to that, what I wanted to actually point out that is that Universal Accounting Center is sponsoring the show today. And for that, I would encourage you to consider becoming a professional bookkeeper. Professional bookkeeper is someone that is actually certified in the day-to-day applications of accounting in small business. This is something that is hugely important as it relates to quality accounting services. So check out what it is you can be doing to actually become a certified professional bookkeeper. In addition to that, I'd also suggest that you check out the Turnkey Business Plan for Accounting Professionals. It is the Turnkey Business Plan to actually help you actually market, price, sell, and most importantly, onboard those clients offering quality accounting services, building the premier accounting firm. So if you'd like to see what you're doing, wherever it is right now that you're in your business model, check out the Turnkey Business Plan and see what you've done right, see what you need to do next, and most importantly, build the premier accounting firm and get paid what you're worth. Now, with that being said, from kind of a recap point of view, let me just share some of the highlights. Obviously, I was excited to hear about his journey becoming an accounting professional. He obviously had that insight with his parents being entrepreneurs to know that accounting was essential for business. So he got into not only audit, but eventually starting his own business. And what really fascinated me is how he leaned into that entrepreneurial spirit as basically offering accounting services to a specific niche. He focused on the accounting or the construction industry. He really realized that in order to specialize in that, he needed to bring some additional value. So they had a software program that they could bring in to actually help with cash flow management and related things along those lines, clearly giving them an advantage or an edge, as it were, as to the accounting services they were providing. Then from there, he actually saw that there were a lot of things in his own firm that clearly needed some attention, some errors that were going on that he'd like to more quickly address. And so that gave him a chance to actually step out of the service industry into the software industry, beginning now the software company to really hone in on what it is that's going on and help us as accounting professionals, bookkeepers, become more efficient in the work that we're providing. So clearly loved that transition. But I appreciated our conversation as it evolved into looking at AI, how AI was actually going to impact the bookkeeping profession, how even still we actually need to check our work and not just trust the AI, but more importantly, need to now kind of audit it as well. And so we need to have those skills. We discussed how there is a manual process to the work that we do, but there are a number of things that we can automate. And one of the powerful things that came from the software is the fact that he's helping us at least understand and see opportunities for us to increase our fees, recognizing the work that we're doing and that it has changed with the clients we're servicing. The other thing that I also felt was very helpful and important is when we were talking about the business itself, we were talking about with his growth, he was talking about hiring a little slower and being a little bit more intentional with the people he was hiring. He had that great question that he was asking to see if they were just rule followers or if they were willing to push back a little bit, because he was looking for leaders. And that was one of the things that I thought that was very important to actually hear and understand. But the last thing is, as I asked him about his journey as an entrepreneur, he talked about the confidence that he's gotten from this. The fact that as you run your own business, you do get a good deal of confidence in your ability to step into new situations, kind of address things head on. And I really appreciated that insight. So Leeroy, wonderful insights and suggestions through our meeting today. I'm curious, what would you like to leave as a final thought?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think as a final thought on all of this, I mean, reminiscing on what's worked and what hasn't worked as a founder and dealing with anxiety, at least, I think I always find, trying to live in the present, one step at a time, one little step, break the problem up into little bits and solve that problem, especially if you're starting to feel overwhelmed. That has helped me in so many situations. And yeah, just remember that in the back of mind and keep on going.
I love that. I love that a lot. Actually, I say it quite regularly. It's baby steps. Just chunk it down to the least common denominator and just start from there, just baby steps. So very, very good. So here's what I'd like to do. To you, my listeners, I want to invite you to subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't already, I'd love to have you actually subscribe. Get those notifications as to each and every week when we release a new episode, and see what it is we have to share with you so that you can build the premier accounting firm in your area. In addition, I want to invite you to GrowCon. I want you to join with us as we gather as owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses, getting together at GrowCon to actually hear from the experts, those individuals that are specializing in helping us actually build the premier accounting firm. Those insights that they're sharing with us is to help us market our services better, sell our services better, price our services better, offer quality accounting services to better retain and service our clients, work more efficiently, and most importantly, profitably. So come hear what we have to say from those experts. Also, enjoy meeting with your peers. At GrowCon, you actually get to visit with those individuals that are like you, doing their thing in their business. You get to hear from them, learn what it is they're doing right, see what it is you can be doing differently, make new friends, connections, and also collaborate. See what things you might be able to actually do to better service your clients. Lastly, one of the things I'd like to actually stress is the fact that you're able to meet our team here at Universal Accounting, those individuals who are committed to actually helping you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal Accounting. So take a moment, register now for GrowCon. You can go to universalaccounting.com, and there in the navigation, find GrowCon and register now to join us for it. The last thing I'd like to actually point out is that of free resources. Here at Universal Accounting, we have a number of free resources to assist you as you're working in and on your business. You can go to universalaccounting.com and there find a number of free resources. These are books, white papers, exercises, reports, various things that you can be utilizing to actually level up your business and thrive in what it is you do. And then lastly, regarding the podcast, I want you to go to the navigation there at universalaccounting.com, and in the podcast section, find the highlights. These are playlists that we've put together of past episodes that are favorites, and more importantly, deep dive into very specific things that you may be experiencing today, whether it be marketing, selling, pricing, and so forth. You can go into the topics that matter most to you and get that timely information you need to work on your business. So take advantage of those playlists and binge listen to those. Now, as it relates to your business, if you'd like to address these services and other things that we've discussed, feel free to reach out to us directly at universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and be safe out there.